Hello, I am your Roman governor. It seems you once had quite a following. Now your own people have turned against you. What did you do? I've even heard stories about you being a miracle worker. I must say, you're certainly not what I expected. Anyway, enough with the pretense. You've been telling my tax collectors to resign. And now I hear you've been rabble-rousing, turning over tables in public places, shouting like a madman in some religious dispute, and spreading subversive ideas that there's a God higher than Caesar. A kingdom higher than Rome? I have to keep order in this province. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Are you a little affected in the head? I might be able to help you out here, but you have to work with me. Are you the king of the Jews?
It is, as you say.
You've got to be kidding me. You're not helping your case any. Some of your people, loyal to Caesar, say that you claim to be the king of the Jews, which would be insanity if you did say, because sedition carries a very harsh penalty. I could execute you, you know, but you don't strike me as a threat. And I do love playing cat and mouse games. I mean, you're the most pathetic-looking excuse for a wannabe king I've seen yet. And there are a lot of disloyal, ungrateful radicals who do a lot worse than go crazy in the temple. Frankly, that amuses me, and it wins you points. So, you're a king?
My realm is not of this world. Everyone who seeks truth hears my voice.
Centurions, take this pathetic lunatic to the real king of the Jews, King Herod. Dress him up in robes, give him a crown, and mock him in front of the crowds. They're always protesting about something. Herod will find this toad hilarious. Be sure he tells him about this imaginary kingdom, too. This will win me points with Herod for years, and it's always good to be on the good side of the king. In the modern world, we don't have the Roman Empire, but we do have a lot of people running afoul of other keepers of social hierarchies, the Pontius Pilates of present day. These Pontius Pilates are people who protect the privilege of the elite, prop up governments, and police the world. They keep a lid on populist people's uprisings, and a lot of innocent people get hurt in the process. I imagine women and men all over the Middle East today, even in the lands where Jesus walked, praying for their freedom, now finding themselves ruthlessly treated and murdered by dictators. Dictators who were once propped up by Western powers in our names in order to promote the interests of our companies, our trade deals, and our sense of order. Could Pontius Pilate speak to us? My name is Pontius Pilate. I invite you into my world. I am in charge of the security of Jerusalem, an important trade route for the Roman Empire. Trade keeps Rome prosperous, and my iron fist keeps trade secure around here despite the anti-Roman sentiments. What you just saw is just another day here, with yet another crazy radical coming out of the woodwork, getting himself into trouble. I don't think this guy is a terrorist, or at least he wasn't much of one, but he speaks ideas dangerous to the empire. This requires careful maneuvering. We need a lot of that around here because this truly is the armpit of the empire. Frankly, I feel like I'm being punished, but someday I'll get out of this backward, flea-ridden town. It's a particularly vile, difficult place full of extremists, but I'm up to the task of policing their little rebellions. I have to set people against each other. That's why I'm here. I have 3,000 soldiers under my command, and it doesn't matter how many thousands of people I have to execute, extremists still keep coming. But it's no matter. I will always be able to buy some people's loyalty by tempting them with political authority over others. A temptation with privilege and with fear. They, in turn, have vested interest and will control the uncivilized population. They serve me, their natural Roman ruler. I swear nothing will change here for thousands of years. They will always need order and governance from their superiors. The brilliance of my strategy is that the locals themselves turn the subversives right over to me before their little uprisings and crazy outbursts become a problem. Then I put on a little song and dance as if Rome doesn't want any part in their brutality. And they take the brunt of the blame while I take care of their problems. Do you know how many messiahs I've seen? Dozens. I've executed thousands. They're all dead. Like I said, a little privilege among the elite. People who choose to look and act like us. Like artisans, leaders, religious figures. That goes a long way. I call them my political pawns. They're like dogs, bent on retaining scraps, and they practically rule for me. I just get to collect taxes and execute rebels. I really hope King Herod likes my gift of that hilariously awkward man, who the peasants say walks on water and does miracles with his piercing stare and his haunting way about him. He does bother me. He's not like the others. He has this sense of otherworldly self about him, this gentle, effortless power. He might look like a filthy outcast from Galilee, but there's something different about him. Political retainer is a term for people in the ancient world who profess loyalty to the Roman Empire because they got something out of Roman rule. They worked to uphold the status quo, much like we see in today's oil countries, where privileged elite classes, such as the Saudis, rule atop a class system that benefits the West. One class benefits, and in turn gives us support. Others are exploited. The same model was evident in the region of ancient Israel and Judea, where the Jews were considered some of the lowliest, undesirable subjects in the entire empire, given their unwillingness to serve Caesar as their god and their resistance to Roman occupation. Privileged loyalists kept them in line. Might we have the same problem in our society? In some ways, I think we do. I live in a society with an economic hierarchy, stretching throughout the world, reaping the benefit of others' work through consuming products, services. I live, I consume, I benefit. Somebody else suffers. Our government declares wars. We retain our American privileges, and then we consume some more. It just seems like the natural order of things that can't be helped, but it can. The crowd Jesus walked with scorned those loyal to Rome. those who proclaimed faith while continuing to benefit at the expense of others within Rome's hierarchy of class and race, Jesus called hypocrites. Today in America, we see people benefiting from their class and race too, our class and race, by voting and acting to maintain their own privilege with no regard for equal opportunities. We also see it when education funding is cut. We see it when health care becomes an issue of privilege rather than a sacred human right. We see it when people like Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker tries to tear apart labor unions to benefit an elite class whose taxes won't go up. By preserving collective bargaining for a select group, police and firefighters, while dismantling it for others, a privileged class is created. And I am so glad we here at UBC have a history of supporting union activity. Jesus teaches us to remember the lives of others, to be compassionate and willing to stand in solidarity rather than succumbing to the temptation of hierarchy. Roman hierarchy and its disrespect for Jewish culture is what the Jews were fighting against in Jesus' time. That's the context of Jesus' culture and his message. That's why Jesus' message of a greater authority than our political world, God in God's kingdom, wasn't about a literally dominant king god like Caesar. Instead, it meant God is higher than the world's kingdoms. God is higher than the political authorities, higher than Rome, higher than America. And unlike the rest of the world, this God can't be co-opted by the temptation of political authority. God is an equalizing force, teaching us that we all have value. Those in sorrow shall be comforted, and the meek shall inherit the earth. I have a suspicion that even the privileged Roman, Pontius Pilate, couldn't ignore the power of this teacher's beautiful, nonviolent, subversive message. I'm sure he couldn't be blind to his own privilege anymore in this man's presence.